There you go. We're good.
All right. My my timer's not working.
Jesus.
Poor prep work, man.
Okay, now my timer's working. All right. We're
Don't
gonna
you treat
start.
it like a soccer match and add time when you feel like it, you know?
We're starting now,
Thank
guys.
you. And now.
Beach Week, 1990 something something. Destined for Ocean City, Maryland, for a full week of hedonistic debauchery, a rite of passage for all graduating seniors in the tri-state area. A van full of teenagers, hormones, and of course, the Beast. What is the Beast of which I speak, you ask? You may know it by its more common name, Milwaukee's Best. We called it the Beast because it was a dangerous, dangerous monster. It smelled and looked nasty, and if taken in big enough quantities, would seriously fuck you up. We brought a case and cases and cases of the stuff with us to the beach, and we nearly died. So that was my first memorable experience with our topic for tonight. Our topic for tonight is beer. That's right. This is the beer show. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an icebreaker with the agents at helm and our guest for tonight, Bree. Say hello, Bree.
Hello.
Hi, Bree. And what we're going to ask everybody is to give us a memorable experience with beer. It could be their first time, their worst time. I'm going to ask you to start, Bree.
Oh, of course, of course. Oh, I hesitate to say this because my son is sitting across the room from me. But I think the first time I remember having beer, I was probably about 12. And it was a can of Old Milwaukee,
Mm-hmm.
and it tasted horrible. It was
Mm-hmm.
disgusting. But I soon discovered that if I drank it fast enough and cold enough, that it tasted like 7 Up. And, that was my first drinking skill, I guess. Drink it cold and fast.
Drinking cold and fast.
Well, if you're going to drink crappy beer, drink it cold and fast.
That is your advice.
That is my advice.
It sounds like solid advice.
Yeah.
Did you have any negative effects from the drinking of the cold beer fast?
We'll define negative.
Fair enough. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the lovely Johanna. Johanna, tell us about a memorable experience you had with beer.
I was actually thinking about this earlier because I went to a place that only had like Natty Light and PBR. For those not in the know, Natural Light and Pabst Blue Ribbon. And I don't really drink these beers anymore, but I did have a Pabst Blue Ribbon, and it did remind me of being in college and being underage, especially in college, and trying to figure out where the parties were so that we could get, alcohol, even though we were not of age. And I remember really like the really cold nights when you'd go like kind of looking for a party, and when you were really drunk, like it didn't really feel cold, and you would go to like these houses, because this was in Ohio and all the houses had porches, and they would have like just coolers of Pabst Blue Ribbon out, and you would drink those like in the cold. And there was one night that there were actually like fireworks when that happened, and you were so drunk that you didn't know if the fireworks were in your head or if they were actually there. So that's my memory of PBR and of beer. Most memorable, I guess.
So I am definitely hearing a theme. We got Milwaukee's Best. We got
PBR.
PBR and I get them confused, Bree. It's Milwaukee's Best, and then there's Old Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Two totally different entities that are, well, pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Malik, would you like to go next?
Sure. This is going to be pretty short. I mean, until recently, probably in the last 2 years, I hated the taste of beer.
How did you discover you hated the taste of beer, though, Malik?
I think, and this is why this is how my memorable experience, my first memorable experience. I remember being about 10 or 11 years old and having an uncle uh, try to turn me into a man by shoving a bottle of beer into my hand and making me drink it. And I'm pretty sure it was a Budweiser, and that was the first beer I ever drank at a family barbecue. Um, and it was disgusting. At 12 years old, I thought it was disgusting. I thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. And I did not touch beer probably for another. And I drank that. I drank that whole thing. Got sick. Threw up all over the party. My grandmother was pissed off. Everybody was mad at my uncle, and partially mad at me because I actually drank it. Um, and then so yeah, I hated beer for a long time after that. Didn't have a beer for at least another 5 years. And then ever since then, like, I just started kind of liking the taste of it again over like I said, over the last 2 or 3 years. And so now I'm really a beer rookie, I guess, in that sense. But I'm open to trying different things, but I don't know a lot about it.
What's the beer that you kind of liked? You mentioned.
Um, the beer that I've kind of liked. So there's nothing I stick to directly. I'll pretty much go with, whatever people suggest when I'm out. So I can say what I've tried. Of course, Coronas, because that's what everybody seems to have at every single party. I've had Heinekens. I've had like some of the domestic stuff, Miller, Bud, all of that stuff. And I had my first Guinness not too long ago.
What do you think of that?
Maybe about a month ago. It's different. I don't know how to describe this. So this is I'm going to probably try to get some information from this show, and how to describe flavors of beer and stuff. Like, it tasted different, but I don't know how to describe that different. So I don't know what I was just trying to look it up. As a matter of fact, I don't know what it's supposed to be. So I don't know how to describe that flavor, but it was good. I did like it.
Do you want to help him out? Well, how would you describe the flavor of Guinness, Bree?
Well, I think probably what he's trying to get at is the malt, because that's probably the most distinctive, and the style, because to go from a light lager, like your usual Miller Coors, Budweiser Fair, which has got a lot of rice adjuncts to lighten the body, to a Guinness is a huge step in flavor palette. So you're probably looking at, okay, this doesn't have any rice in it, and it's got a darker malt that they use. So you're looking at a fuller body, and definitely a bigger hop profile than he's probably used to. So that's probably what he's referring to.
It was definitely super dark. Definitely,
Yeah.
I definitely realized it was super dark in comparison to the stuff that it didn't look brown like everything else. Everything else kind of looks like that has that golden look to it. It doesn't look like what's on TV.
No, it's very dark and foamy. And
Yeah.
we're going to get into stuff like hop profiles a little bit later, but we still have one more agent, our friend Joe.
All right, so not really into beer, and I never when I was a teenager and stuff, I really had no desire to drink it. Not much of a drinker at all. But when I was in my 20s, I was out in South Beach, and I was like, let me try something new, something I haven't done. And I'm hanging out on Ocean Drive, and I go into a restaurant. I see everybody's drinking Corona, so I was like, yeah, let me get one. Let me try one of those. So I drank it. I said, I don't know why I avoided it so long. It doesn't taste so bad, And I know it's not what you call it, one of your premium beers or whatever. But that's where I started. I tried the Corona, and it was a cool night. Sitting on Ocean Drive, it was nice. But since then, I've tried, Dos Equis. A friend of mine had me try a Modelo Negro.
Oh
Tried
yeah.
that. And that was pretty good. And I really liked the Sam Adams Summer Ale and the Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
So
I
it
like
sounds like you've never really had a memorable experience with beer. Is that correct to say, Joe?
What do you mean, as far as like something like getting messed up and like, no, not really.
Or like your
Not in
first
those
beer,
cases.
right? Because your first beer was you were of age and
Yeah.
had a Corona and you were moderately whatever. What about the run-ins with drunkards, Joe? You ever have a run-in with a drunk?
Yeah. Who hasn't had a run-in with a drunk? I mean,
So
I
our
had drunks in my neighborhood, you know?
So our
Um,
our discussion item number one, we're gonna just jump right into that, is what is beer? So I am not a chemist by any means, and I usually when you say I'm not like something by any means, it means that you're about to say that you do know something about the subject, but I know absolutely nothing, and so I Wikipedia'd it. And so I got a definition, and I was hoping we could dive into this definition and maybe explain some of this stuff basically to me. So the definition, I'm just going to read it. Beer is an alcoholic beverage produced by the saccharification of starch and fermentation of the resulting sugar. The starch and the saccharification enzymes are often derived from malted cereal grains, most commonly malted barley and malted wheat. Most beer is also flavored with hops, which add bitterness and act as a natural preservative. Though other flavorings such as herbs or fruit may occasionally be included, the preparation of beer is called brewing. Now, Bree, do you understand most of that?
Yeah.
By the way, somebody has like a piece of paper or something, and it's making a noise. I'm not sure who it is, but it happened during the intro, and so let's go ahead and stop using that piece of paper.
it sounds like a beer can getting crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, so what is saccharification of starch?
Okay. Basically, what happens is that you take a grain, usually a malted grain, and by adding water and at different temperatures, basically you turn it to sugar. And what happens is that when you introduce the yeast feeds off of that sugar and creates carbon dioxide and ferments and ferments the liquid, and that's how you get alcohol. When you add hops, now hops are a relatively recent addition to beer.
When you say relatively recent, you mean like the last 300 years, or?
Yeah, basically, because there are some beer geeks who would who love to put forth the idea that the reason civilization was created was because of beer. And there are plenty of arguments to that end, meaning that we cultivated grains for the express purpose of making beer, and society grew around
Bars?
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, there's plenty, not just bars, but the process
Ale houses?
of the process of brewing and what we need to brew. Yeah, I mean, and the discovery of yeast is also relatively, usually beer was inoculated by airborne yeasts, and people didn't quite realize what yeast was up until, several hundred years ago, but still, it's been a while.
So basically it would just happen, and people, since they weren't adding the yeast, they just, I guess after time it just sort of happened, and that was probably just a discovery that took place when somebody left something out too long?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process called open fermentation, which some brewers still practice, especially in Belgium, because the local flora is conducive and that yeast is tasty. Not all airborne yeasts are tasty. I mean, some of them are horrible. And, you'll read stories about there's yeast in everything. You'll read stories about brewers experimenting with yeast in their beards, stuff that kind of curls your toes a little bit.
Oh my.
But when people learned how to isolate yeasts and propagate them to get the flavors that they wanted, that's kind of the birth of the modern brewing process. But basically, if you've ever made bread from a starter, it's the same thing with beer. It's the same process where you save a little bit of that beer to inoculate the next batch. Thereby, essentially, it's kind of a primitive way of using that yeast that tastes good, is by using it from a previous batch.
What does inoculate mean? Sorry.
It's essentially to introduce the yeast. Because the yeast is a living organism.
And it lives in the beer after the beer has been created. So it goes on and on. So like if once you have a good batch of beer, then you would just carry that life throughout the life of all the brews that you would make.
You can. There are home brewers who will take like a beer that they like and save a little bit to help propagate the yeast from that batch to brew their own beer.
I see.
Just to get that flavor.
Interesting.
I have a question. Do people mix beers?
Oh, some do.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard. There is like this old story about the style of the English mild being just like that's the dregs of several taps. When they're at the end of a keg, that they just like, let's give you the dregs of these 3 kegs and we'll call it a mild. But I don't know how true that is. Anyway.
So I mean, is a mild though something you can ask for?
There are brewers who do make English milds. It's not a popular style right now.
Okay, and we'll talk about trends a little bit later. So beer is bitter often, and that is because of the hops?
Yes.
Why do we want it to be bitter?
Well, right now it's a huge trend for bitterness. I think it's a really macho kind of thing. Is that your palate can only discriminate, like there's a measurement of bitterness at IBUs, and your palate really only goes up to 60. That's like really, but you'll see, people like brewers bragging that their beer is like 120 IBUs or some astronomical number, but it really honestly doesn't matter because your palate can only register to a certain level.
So like other animals might like it though.
Yeah, I mean, like super bitter beer is it's an acquired taste, and ultimately it's a trend. It's a trend. It's kind of like since it's the opposite of macro, it kind of tests your craft cred. If you like super bitter beer.
And what you mean by macro is basically like how Bud Light is super watery or ricey, I guess is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean those are. I mean your macros in the craft parlance are, those are your huge multinational or large national brewers,
right?
As opposed to your small independent producer.
And I guess often, though, well, I guess we'll talk about that later, too, because microbreweries are a trend in themselves that the macro breweries have sort of jumped onto.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so then I know that there's like stuff like honey beer. Is that technically beer?
Well, you can. Are you talking about mead, or are you talking?
I guess
about
so, right? Mead. So when you were talking about civilizations, I remembered Beowulf. I think all that action that happened in a big alehouse, I guess, like the kings sort of, that's what it was where they all came and got drunk.
Yeah.
And I guess they were drinking mead, right? I mean, so that's what I'm asking.
Mead's like a very close cousin. I don't know if I know people who like beer tend to be into meads as well, but they're not quite the same thing.
I mean, mead isn't carbonated.
Ah.
I mean, because I'm really into meads.
Uh-huh.
So I just actually got half a case of like artisanal meads, and so two of them are not carbonated, but I actually have a sparkling mead that we also got. I'm not sure how that works, and I'm sure that Bree probably has more information on that. But the mead that I've had before that it's reminded me more of wine than it's reminded me of beer. But it sounds like, Bree, like it's a similar process.
Yeah, it's very close. I know that I know a lot of people that make short meads that are brewers, and short meads are just really easy to make. Hence the short, because it's a shorter fermentation process. Because like honey already has so much sugar in it, and you don't have to work to convert it. So the process is a little shorter.
Oh, okay. So, Joe, Malik, do you guys have any? Do you guys now understand what beer is?
I'm glad you cleared it up. I was a little confused, but now that you've explained it, now I know.
Great. And Malik, how do you feel about what beer is now?
Beer is wet. It goes in a nice. I like the glasses it comes in still.
Okay, so that is going to bring us to our next subject, which are this is our trend watch. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the trends that are going on. You mentioned glasses. Different beers come in different glasses. Ideally, I like ordering Stella because it comes in a cool glass often. I
Does
think.
it come in one of those long glasses?
No, it comes in a Stella glass, doesn't it?
I've never seen it in a glass. I've only seen it in a bottle.
Oh yeah, it comes in like this curved. Does it have a stem? It has a stem, right?
It's a
the glass?
tulip glass, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a tulip glass. Okay, yeah. So that would be. I don't know if you'd really call that a trend, but it definitely seems like there are. That I guess is it that the supplier supplies these glasses to the bar, and I'm not talking about just a regular pint glass. These glasses are, I guess, designed to heighten the taste of the beer. Was that true?
Yes.
Great.
Ultimately,
And yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, you can't taste a beer in a bottle, because you need your nose. You need your nose to, to smell the aroma from the hops, and you can catch some of the sweetness of some of or the aromatics from if they use other herbs or whatever in the brewing process. And you want a glass that's going to collect those aromas and bring them to your nose first, which is going to help you actually taste them better.
Right.
Without that in a bottle, you're really missing out on a lot of the flavor of the beer.
Holy crap! So I've been missing out all this time.
Well, if you're drinking a lot of Corona, you're probably fine.
Oh, there you go, Joe. You're
Bree,
okay.
what does that mean? What does that mean? Are you trying to say it's a low-level beer?
Corona is cold and it's wet, and if you put a lime in it, you've got a nice lime flavor. On a hot day, I certainly wouldn't stop you, and I've certainly had my share. But there's not much you're going to gain from putting a Corona in a glass because it doesn't have a lot of aroma. It doesn't have that.
But I will obtain what I really want, which is to get drunk, right? I will. That's still gonna happen, right?
Well,
Seems
that
like there's
may
more
happen.
efficient ways to do it.
It's never happened for me with Corona.
I mean, yeah, I think
Five
Corona
of
is pretty light.
Yeah, but you take a few. I mean, it'll take a while, but you get
Yeah,
there.
you have like one Guinness and you'll be feeling it.
Yeah.
It's
So-
your tolerance level.
Yeah, and I guess what you're saying is that it just never hurts to pour it out into a pint glass at the very least.
At the very least, I mean,
Yeah.
especially if if you went through the trouble of buying a good beer, you should taste it.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, but see, I feel like at bars, the bars that I've been to, I ask for a beer, they just give me a bottle. They don't actually offer to pour it in a glass. I have to ask for this to be poured in the glass just so I can smell the aroma and get the like. They should know that this beer is best enjoyed out of a glass so that you can
You're
smell the
going to the
aroma.
wrong bars, Malik.
Clearly, this is clearly an issue. I am starting to realize that I am being completely hosed here.
Yeah, it
I'm
Kind
sounds.
of are.
Also, I mean, I personally tend to pick something that is on draft.
Yes. Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean? I have no idea what that means.
Well, there's the taps, so you'll see like a fancy little head to a tap, and they'll have like the different symbols for whatever beer it is, and then those are the ones where they'll bring a pint glass and they'll just pour it into it. So if you had a Guinness, I'm sure you had it off of a tap.
No, I had it out of a bottle. This is.
Oh boy.
I had it out of a bottle.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
the Guinness was purchased. The Guinness I had that, like I said, I had that at a barbecue. So like it was, out of a cooler.
Not even out of a can. I've seen it before in a can.
No, it was
but
in a
you
bottle.
had it in a bottle. Okay.
Long, dark bottles.
Wow. So yeah, so when you go to a bar, you can usually find something good on tap, and you order that, and then you get a nice foam, and
I actually
yeah.
have a question about that, because in some places I've noticed that the pour is very important, especially with Guinness. Like I'll see, I'm thinking really of there's a German restaurant near where my husband works, and they seem to concentrate a lot on the pour and making sure that it's a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And I was curious about that beyond just I understand it probably has to do with the head with the foam. But is there another reason why a slow pour would help the flavors of the beer come out?
I'm just going to quickly second that because my friend Steven swears up and down, he's Irish, I think most of you have met him, that the only good pour of a Guinness is in Ireland. I'm not sure why or how.
Probably true. Well,
Mhm.
number one, it's closer to the source.
Right.
Beer is a touchy product, and the longer distance that it goes, the more damage that can be done to it.
Mm-hmm.
So issue number one, proximity to brewery makes a difference. Second, they probably, here we have a habit of serving Guinness ice cold. And beer needs, much like wine, needs to warm up in order to release its flavor. So they probably serve it at a much warmer temperature in Ireland. And then also, getting a good pour. Now, I suck at pouring. I can't pour. I don't have the patience to pour. I'm not good at it. It's an embarrassment to me, but I really prefer other people to pour my beer because I really suck at it. But yeah, getting a good pour where you properly agitate without destroying its character, but you agitate it just enough to kind of bring out those aromas and flavors.
So I kind of just tip the glass and then put the bottle in that way.
As well, that's exactly how it's done. But for some reason, I'm a very impatient, and I tend to slap my beer. Yeah.
You tend to slap it?
Slop. Yeah.
Slop.
Yeah. I really suck at pouring. Like I said, it's an embarrassment.
Now, is slopping when you get too much head, or?
Yeah, you can get too much head when it just it should pour out in a nice, smooth, straight line.
Uh-huh.
Either down the side of the glass tipped or right straight down the middle. And for some reason, I just can't do it.
I think somewhere along the line I heard that it's kind of cheating to pour down the side of the glass. Obviously that's a way to pour faster without getting a lot of foam, and by, I guess, handling the angle of the way you're tilting it, you can kind of grow some foam at your own pace. But somewhere along the line, somebody said that isn't the way to do it. And
yeah, that's what my husband says too. He says that I'm breaking the beer when I do that.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. but it's like, especially, I mean, but if you're pouring it like out of a keg tap, you can, you know, you are supposed to have a little tilt. But I have not mastered it. I suck at it, and there's my admission for the day.
Now, did your husband ever explain what breaking, how you, like, what does that mean to break a beer? It's,
Yeah, how do you do that?
It's like breaking the ocean.
I think he meant figuratively, like I had fucked it up somehow.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how I fucked it up, but he was like, no, like this is not how you pour a beer.
Did he still drink the beer?
Oh, are you kidding me? He's an Irishman. Irishmen don't waste beer.
All right,
No.
well then it wasn't wasted.
No,
Yeah.
it was not.
Not like it.
He's like, it's terrible. Glug, glug, glug.
Okay, and then just real quickly, Bree, I'm curious. Some quick hits. What have you seen lately as far as trends with microbreweries and home breweries?
Well, I think what you're going to notice at your local beer-centric pub is a trend toward more sessionable beers.
Mhm.
That's much lower alcohol level. It's a bit of a challenge to get lower alcohol level and higher flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this is kind of like the challenge of the moment, and it's sort of a backlash from the IPA craze.
Mm.
Now, explain. Can you just briefly explain what you mean by that?
Well, if you will notice, and there's a lot that lingers in the marketplace, where if you go to a bar and let's say they've got 10 taps, chances are 8 of them are IPAs.
Right, right.
And there are infinitely more styles of beer than IPA, but that just happens to be the style of the moment. But I think the sessionable beer, which has you know, a much different range of styles, is that's the trend right now, because brewers have figured out, as have drinkers, that hey, maybe making a beer that you can drink all day, several of them, is kind of a better choice than a beer you can only have one of.
Right. I mean, yeah, definitely. So a session beer is definitely something where you, like you're saying, you can have more of a variety of beers. Is that?
That, and you're looking at, you know, usually around 3 to 4% in you know, whereas the average craft brew, when you come to, you know, like an IPA, is usually hovering around 6 or 7%.
Right.
And I mean, with IPAs too.
And there's not a whole lot of taste, I guess.
IPAs are great.
Yeah, IPAs can be very flavorful.
Yeah, like there was one IPA years ago, Dogfish Head 120.
Yep.
That my friends actually aged. They kind of just left them for a year or two, and when we opened them up, they were very alcoholic, but also very tasty.
Indeed.
Interesting. I guess when I think of IPAs, I think of them as having a mild flavor, but
no, not so much. Most IPAs tend to be very hoppy, and that has been, I mean, that has been the trend, is to, like, how hoppy can we make our IPA?
And that also means bitter.
Bitter.
Right.
Bitter, and, you know, and also like that floral, you know, aromatic is those are hops.
Great. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we have a guest tonight who's been with us, Bree O'Connor. She's a big beer aficionado. That's why we have her on the beer show. She was up to recently a member of another podcast. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, Bree, but needless to say, you've had a lot of experience with beer, and you've also are you still home brewing yourself?
No. I've been like a hanger on at other people's brewing sessions. Brewing takes a lot of time and effort, and which I don't have. But I've certainly been around while other people have been brewing.
Right. And so, what was it about beer that that you fell in love with? Well, would you say you're in love with beer? And if so, why?
Well, I think it is amazing that 4 ingredients can have such an amazing range of flavors. You have beers that taste like chocolate, beers that taste like bacon, beers that have these incredible floral notes, beers that are really crisp and refreshing, and beers that are really heavy. And it's all basically 4 ingredients. That's it.
But do they add bacon or chocolate?
Yeah,
No.
I'd like to go back to the bacon beer, please.
Oh, that one you'll like. That one is basically the way they smoke the malt. It creates a flavor that's a lot like bacon. It's delicious.
Wow.
And what are we talking about here?
Oh, that would be Schlenkerla.
Schlenkerla.
Schlenkerla is a brewery in Germany, and they have been passed down through the same family for something like the last 500 years. And they still smoke their malts the same way they did 500 years ago. And they have a tavern in Germany, and they make this marvelous beer. I highly suggest you pick it up. You probably can't have more than 1 glass at a time, though. But it's delicious.
Is that because of the alcohol content, or because it tastes like bacon?
Because it tastes like bacon, and eventually you'll go, wow, that's a lot. But it's so good while it lasts. It's delicious.
It's a way to get the
Schlenkerla Raus beer.
I mean, for someone that's sworn off, I've sworn off bacon for a long time. Well, pork bacon for a very long time. I haven't had any, but I still am partial to the flavor of bacon.
There you go. There's no bacon in bacon beer.
So yeah, since there's no bacon in bacon beer, I could drink the bacon beer and still not be eating the bacon. This sounds like an answer to all of my issues.
It's heaven for me.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm
the
glad I
best
can
of all
bring it to
possible
you.
worlds.
It's even got a cool name, like I'm drinking a Schlenkerla. That's cool. I like that name.
I feel like the beer show is really the Malik show, because Malik is just
you don't understand. I'm taking this is
soaking it all,
information.
sopping
This is
it all
really
up.
informational, and we're definitely planning a drinking outing with Bree at some point.
Oh,
Nice.
absolutely.
All right, I'm excited about that.
There's
Bree,
some places I can take you.
Right, and we're gonna get to that in a little bit later. But Bree, I'm curious. Do you have anything you want to plug? I know you're a writer and you're working. You have some stuff in the pot. Is that how you'd say it? Do you have anything that you would like to talk about?
Beer related specifically,
Or not?
just
No,
in
not
general?
necessarily beer related. In general.
In general, well, I'm working on a few projects. I don't have dates for them yet, but I'm going to be doing some directing projects, like some readings and stuff, and I'm starting a theater company right now. As of yet, nameless, and it's a collective, so there's a lot of us. There's like 42 of us. You can read my blog if you want. I'm on WordPress, and I'm Born Bree.
You are Born Bree. That is
I'm Born Bree.
absolutely true. We're gonna have a link to that on our website so people can check it out, and we'll have you back on once you have a name for your project, and so that's super exciting. Okay, great. So now that takes us to the flash round number 1, which I call matchmaking number 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to talk foods, and we're going to try to match those up with beers. And we're going to go through the agents and see how they do. And Bree, you're going to be our judge, okay?
Okay.
Is this multiple choice?
I don't think so. No.
All right. I'm gonna. All right.
We'll save you for last.
Thank you.
We'll start with I think the person who's going to be our strongest contestant is going to be Johanna. So we're going to start with Johanna. Are you ready, Johanna?
Johanna, I think he just called you an alcoholic.
No, that is not true.
What it sounded like to me.
She is a cook, and she has something of a palate when it comes to taste. A taste
I
palate.
I also really like beer.
Yeah, and she likes beer.
Yeah, that
So,
doesn't make me an alcoholic though. That just makes me a connoisseur.
all right,
Tomato,
Johanna.
tomato. Sure.
Johanna.
Sure.
Okay.
Johanna.
Yeah.
We're gonna start with fish. Tilapia.
Oh, tilapia, you should have something light with that. Like, am I doing brands or am I doing kinds?
Whatever you feel.
Okay, so tilapia is like a very bland kind of fish that kind of just absorbs whatever flavor it's in. So I would say something like a Corona, or I'm trying to think of something a little more flavorful, but that won't of the fish. Yeah, I would have like a Corona with tilapia because tilapia is just so plain, and you haven't told me what it's cooked in, so.
Butter.
Aha.
Butter and basil.
Butter. I know that's your secret ingredient.
It is. That's
Butter
our
and
secret. Now that you've let the
Oh.
cat out of the bag.
Now that you're talking about basil, I don't feel as comfortable as with the Corona choice. I would probably pick something on the lighter end of the Sam Adams line. I can't
Okay.
think of which one, but something that has just a little bit of a zip to it, but not a lot because you don't want to overwhelm the tilapia.
Bree, how do you feel about Johanna's selection?
You know what? I think that's a fine selection. You know, and I think she's right. Depending on how the tilapia is prepared, you really should pay attention to that. Picking something that's got, you know, a light, crisp flavor I think that's a good bet.
Sweet.
Sweet. Okay, and what about a cheeseburger?
Oh my goodness, because that's one of my favorite meals ever.
And fries. We're going to
And
throw in fries too.
Oh man, actually, I just had a cheeseburger and fries today,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a New Moon with it. I don't remember which one it was. It wasn't the Belgian, although depending on the toppings on, on the burger, something.
Yeah,
like
feel free to detail it out. You can, like we learned in our last episode, you know, you can take as much freedom as you want as far as dressing your food or preparing it.
So I guess if it's just like a regular cheeseburger, I might even go with like a double or a triple and a Belgian beer. So like a Duvel would be like kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think the flavor of the burger is gonna get lost. But I mean, you might want to just stick with something like standard American. However, I am kind of like when it comes to Mexican food or Mexican flavors, like today I had like a quote unquote nacho burger with jalapenos on it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to just stick to like Mexican beers when it comes to that. So with like a burger, I would have a Negra Modelo.
Do you think that makes you racist?
Well, I mean, like if I'm gonna eat Indian food, I'm gonna have a beer with it. I would probably have Kingfisher. I don't know. There's something about having the beer from that country from which the food comes that
Mm-hmm.
because there's a similar like trend in the flavors. It's kind of like makeup palettes, right? Like I mean, Brie might know a little bit more about this than you guys.
I don't know. I think Lorenzo's got it. No.
But each, you know how they come with like the different collections in one box, like Sultry or Wildcat. That's kind of the way I feel. Like Kingfisher, like it's made to go with that kind of food, with those different flavors. So that's the way that I feel about like Negra Modelo.
Okay. What do you think there, Brie?
Here's my secret to beer pairing. Any beer goes good with burgers and pizza.
Yeah.
Any beer ever. Any beer, because they hold up like flavor-wise with anything. So you can either you can go with enhancing the flavor and kind of like having something come underneath like a lighter beer, or you can go ahead and just get down and dirty and have something compete with the flavor, and you're fine either way because they're both delicious options.
Great. Okay. Joe,
Yep.
what do you think about smoked sausage? If you're having smoked sausage, what kind of beer do you have with smoked sausage?
Well, as I told you earlier, only there's 5 beers to choose from in my life. So, um, smoked sausage. I'm thinking barbecue. I'll have a Sam Adams summer ale.
What do you think about that, Bree?
Totally fine. You know what? I personally would go with something really hoppy. I'd go with a nice, I would go with an IPA probably.
What does
Personally.
IPA stand for again?
India Pale Ale.
India Pale Ale?
Yeah, see,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
knew that, Joe. I don't know why. I don't know. Something's wrong with you, man. I knew that one already.
You're more up on your beers than I am. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of beer do I have to drink it in that cool boot.
What? You get a cowboy boot?
No, where did I see it before? Do you know what I'm talking about, Bree?
Maybe vaguely.
It's like a glass boot.
A German
You
boot.
know what? I saw it in a movie. That's what it was.
No, that's sorry that I keep saying German boot. They have those at least they have them at German restaurants. It's like a thing. Like you buy one and it's a humongous boot. It's like the size of a real boot, but it's glass, and you drink it, and then you drink another one if you want. And
Yeah, like if you turn it a certain way, doesn't it speed up the flow of the beer coming out or something like that? I can't remember, but yeah, I saw it somewhere.
You're still talking about the boot?
Yeah.
I think you're so drunk at that point that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It's a huge boot.
Okay.
It's like huge.
All
But
right,
anyway, back to the food, Lorenzo. Yes.
Malik,
Yeah.
what about salads, seafood, sushi? What would go good with sushi and
All right,
salad?
so I'm gonna knock this one out the park. I'm telling you right now. I know exactly what's gonna go with everything that you mentioned ever. Right?
What? No, that's not the point.
No, because
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Malik. Break it down.
So this is the beer that I'm gonna choose. Is
Uh huh.
whatever beer Bree tells me to drink. That's the beer I'm going with, right? So, so I'm gonna basically, so this basically means I'm right because I'm just picking what I'm told to drink, and I'm gonna drink that, and it's gonna rock. So, so Bree, what do you think of that?
Well, now what I heard is that for sushi, we talked about it before. One of my favorite beers. Now I have a new one that's a new favorite of mine to order, but Hefeweizen.
Well,
Oh, that is a good one.
well, this is
Yeah,
what I was
see
gonna
that.
say. So,
Yeah,
what
but
I-
are you ordering it because of the name Lorenzo or because you actually like it?
Yeah, it's okay during the summer, especially when they put a little orange in it. But but mostly I just like to say Hefeweizen.
But there's another one that has a similar name that has like this coriander note to it. Wiesenstoffer. I don't know, but I like that one. And that's
Oh,
what
that
I was
sounds
thinking
fun.
of.
Wiesenstoffer.
I really don't know what the name is. Maybe it's Hootenanny. It's a German name.
Hootenanny.
Hoot or Hoot, isn't it?
Hootenanny is a German word.
No, it's not.
I thought that was country. I thought it was hootenanny.
I'm just making stuff up at this point, you guys.
Well, what was the word you made up before Hootenanny?
It's like I don't. It's like it's. I don't know what it.
Wu-Tang?
Is it Dunkelweizen?
It's gonna drive me crazy, you guys. It's like it has a coriander note, and it either starts with a W or ends in a W. Or go on without me, you guys. Go on.
Well, what I was gonna say to be as you know to try to be as straightforward with my answer as I can possibly be. What I was going to say is I don't really know what type of beer would go with it, but I would assume that pasta and things like pasta and salads, usually, especially if you're like me, you get salad, you got some dressing on it, so you don't want to have anything that's too strong that would drown out the taste of your food. So I don't know what that would be. I don't know if this Hefeweizen is that, but so I would assume that whatever beer you would pick would be something that has enough flavor that you taste it, but not so much as it drowns out the taste of the food that you're eating.
What do you think about Malik's answer, Bree? Feel free to go bomb.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, and really, ultimately, if you like it, drink it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I would not be afraid of bold choices and mixing flavors. I mean, one of my favorite combinations is to have a nice heavy stout or a porter and dried mango. Freaking delicious. So good.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you explain the difference between the stout and the porter? I mean,
No
I
one-
heard it, but I honestly I'm really unclear what the differences are.
You are not the only one. There are beer aficionados who argue that there is a difference and that there isn't a difference. Ultimately, the only mildly satisfactory answer I've ever encountered is chemical of local water composition.
What makes a stout and a porter a porter? Like, why would you how would you classify them differently like that?
Well, Guinness is a stout, right?
Is it the darkness of the beer, or is it the coloring, or is it? I mean, I'm sure it has to do more than just coloring, but what's the key? What makes a stout and a porter a porter?
Well, ultimately, that's a distinction that's best left to someone who's a certified beer judge, which I'm not. I am most definitely not. I'm not an expert.
But in your opinion,
in my opinion, I think it's whatever the brewer decides to call it. Frankly.
Okay.
Because there is, like, in terms of you as a consumer, you're probably gonna go see little difference between a porter and a stout, but when you see it on a menu, you're gonna have a general idea of what you're gonna get.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like,
I would like to hear more about. You were saying that the local water makes a big difference as to whether it's called a porter or a stout. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but brewers frequently will manipulate their water supply with minerals and different additives to mimic the water from the area where the style originated. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, because water has different mineral qualities depending on where it comes from, and that's why certain regions produce certain kinds of beer, because that's what beer tastes best with the local water supply.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
By the
okay.
way, you guys,
Yeah.
the name of the beer is Hoegaarden.
Oh yeah, Hoegaarden.
Mm.
I know Hoegaarden. I thought it's fun to say it's Hefeweizen though.
No,
Well,
it's not.
If you want with sushi and you want to go totally like culturally specific, drink a Hitachino.
Hitachino.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if there's any good Asian beers, like originate from China, Japan, or any part of Asia.
Well, Hitachino is quite good. It's kind of an acquired taste. If you like sake, you probably will be like, okay, I can jive with Hitachino.
Sake.
Yeah.
We like sake. We should have a sake show.
Ooh.
And we can talk about Asian beers when we get to karaoke. Karaoke. So I'm gonna give this one to Johanna because really you guys just didn't even put up a fight. So Johanna wins
I
last
think that was
round number
declared
one.
at the beginning of the show when
Basically,
when
yeah.
we and I declared our low knowledge of beer.
Don't try to make excuses, Joe.
Man, if
Nobody
I
wants to
would
hear
have
excuses.
went first, I would have had something really like. I think you killed me because I actually had something for burgers, and then Johanna went and took my stuff. So Johanna
Okay.
took all my
Next
answers.
time you don't know anything about something, we'll go with you first, Malik.
Thank you, because Johanna took all my answers. I had some really cool answers.
Yeah, you're right. I should have gone with the novelty of what is Malik.
Thank you very much.
What is Malik?
Okay, and then I don't know, Bree. What do you feel about? I know you said that. Okay, first of all, I know that you did at some point have an interest in home brewing. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yes.
Because I saw Tom at the local homebrew shop.
Yes.
Which maybe we should say the name of it if you remember it. I can't remember it.
Oh, Brooklyn Homebrew.
There you go. Brooklyn Homebrew, located on what, like 7th
That's on
Street or
8th Street,
and 3rd
yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah.
Right around 3rd Avenue. Very close to 4 and 20 Blackbird.
Yeah, right in the
Pie place.
back of the pie place.
Bree, pie, and what beer goes with pie?
What kind of pie?
Let's say, what is that one that they have? They have I guess it's like an apple. They have like an apple pie.
The salted caramel.
Yeah, salted caramel.
Oh, that's so delicious.
It is good. Yes.
For me personally, I would probably go with a darker beer myself. I like the darker beers, or maybe something that's deceptively maybe a dunkel if I'm feeling kind of light.
Yeah, that's
What's a dunkel?
Man in the strike zone on his first 2 pitches. Fastball 85 to 88. A slider change of
What's going on?
right-hander.
Somebody's watching baseball
Sorry.
during the
Well,
podcast.
I was clicking on a link and I was looking up something. It just started playing a video. That's my fault.
You're so busted.
Yeah. Well, a dunkel it's a style of beer. It ranges in color, but it tends to be like, it's darker than a lager. But it's deceptively light. Very full German beer.
So is that it's not a brand, it's a brand, I guess.
No,
then.
it's a style.
It's a style. So what's a brand of dunkel that you would recommend?
Oh, let's see. Oh, who makes a good dunkel? There are trying to think of who makes a good dunkel. I haven't seen one in a while.
We can go back to it. So, say that there's somebody that is interested in starting up the home brewing.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for these people?
First, you're gonna want to decide how serious you are about it. If you are not sure if you want to do it, go ahead. Don't listen to the super craft beer jerks about all grain brewing. Go ahead and try it with extracts first. There's no crime in that. And if you like it, then you can move to all grain.
Are extracts easier to work with? Is that
most people start that way because the product is a little bit more stable, and you get recipes. Go to a homebrew store, talk to them, and they'll give you the lowdown. Figure out how much space you want to devote to it, and then don't worry about how hard it looks. Just brew, look for recipes. Brew the type of beer you want to drink.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
If you can make soup, you can make beer.
That's good to know, because I can make soup.
Yeah.
But you need special equipment.
You can, yes, but not as much as you think. I mean, if you pick up Charlie Papazian's book, you might be overwhelmed, even though he's really encouraging and it's a good book. And if you're at all interested, I highly recommend you pick up anything by Charlie Papazian. But just talk to people. Don't let yourself be scared out of it. Here in New York, there's a couple that has apartment brewing supplies, and they sell kits. And they're Brooklyn Brew Shop, and they wrote a book recently that came out last year. I recommend it. Read it. Pick it up. If you're interested, you can. They'll mail order you stuff. They're awesome.
And they're located in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
That's different from the one we were just talking about.
Yeah, they're a different couple. Both of them are run by couples, by married couples. Brooklyn Homebrew is that's run by a couple who are brewers, and I think the wife was a chef at one point. And then Brooklyn Homebrew Brew Shop sorry, the names always get me a little befuddled. But they're also like, hobbyist brewers who figured out how to market things for apartment brewers.
And apartment brewers, you mean literally people that live in apartments, because I guess brewing does take up some space?
Yeah, your space is limited, so
right.
It gives new meaning to small batch.
And Charlie Papazian is The Joy of Home Brewing? Is that the
Yes.
book you're talking about? The
Yes.
Complete Joy of Home Brewing, excuse me.
He's written several books, but that's the kind of the homebrew Bible.
It's a good place to start.
It is a good place to start.
Great. And then as far as like basic equipment, is there like a, can you just have some pots and some bottles and just jump right in? Or,
Well, you should have some good sturdy stock pots. Like,
Huh.
Yeah, you don't want to have like, just your little saute pot. That's not going to do it. You're going to need some big stuff. You're going to need some colanders. You're going to need, spoons. You're going to need stuff.
I feel like Johanna probably has all that already. So I think what we're hearing is that Johanna is going to go ahead and brew us some beer.
It can be the Agents of Helm Special Lager.
Yes.
There you go.
That is a great idea. You make excellent bread, and I'm pretty sure you make good soup, Johanna. So
Make it taste like bacon.
make it taste like bacon.
This is a high order, you guys. I will try to live up to it.
Charlie Papazian, The Complete Joy of Home Brewing. We'll get you a
Okay.
copy. You'll make us some beer. It'll be great.
That's who I am in this crowd. That's who I am.
That's a very special position.
Yeah, there are worse things you could be.
Chief home brewer and dessert maker. I'm not complaining.
You will never be fired from the Agents of Helm. You keep
us
me
fat and
fully
happy.
stocked with you keep us fully stocked with beer and food. That's your ultimate ticket.
It's true. All right.
Okay, thanks, Bree. That was awesome. Now, for fun, we're going to get to flash round number 2. And this one is called, very cleverly, Matchmaking Part 2. And in this one, what we're going to do, and it's going to be a free-for-all, guys, so you're going to just call out, and we're going to keep score and see who's the awesomest. It's going to have 2 parts. The first part is fictional beer. So I will say a beer, and then if you feel that you know what it's from, then you can just call it out. Does everybody understand the rules?
Yes.
The rules are there are no
These
rules.
fictional beers that are like in movies or TV shows or just all over.
Trust me, you'll get the hang of it really quick.
Okay.
Okay, y'all ready? Is everybody ready?
Sure.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Number 1, Duff beer.
Simpsons.
Dude, Simpsons.
Who said that first?
I did.
I think
Okay,
we're
Johanna.
on first.
All right, that is correct. The Simpsons, obviously. I started with the easy ones. Alamo beer.
Davy Crockett. I don't know.
Nobody?
Pee Wee Herman.
Okay, that's a good guess, though. No, King of the Hill. Alamo beer.
Oh, fine.
And it actually exists now. I'm not sure if it existed before, but it definitely exists now. Alamo beer, and King of the Hill I think was the impetus for that. All right, here's an easy one. Romulan Ale.
Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Yes, Johanna. Johanna's kicking ass right now. All right. Next we have Samuel Jackson beer.
Dave
Chappelle.
Chappelle.
Chappelle Show. I got that one.
I think that went to Malik. Okay, what about Schrader Brow?
I know this and I don't know it though.
Trader Brow.
Are you, Bree? You're playing too, right?
I'm like, I have no idea.
Okay, that one's from Breaking Bad, guys. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember,
okay. I don't feel
but
as bad anymore.
that was a homebrew made by Agent Schrader, who played the brother-in-law. Okay, I think this one, you guys are going to get this one. The Dharma Initiative.
Lost. I got
Good job,
that.
Joe. Joe
They
got
have
that
their own
one.
beer?
Yeah,
know that. Okay.
Yeah, they had beer.
Seriously.
Buzz Beer.
Toy Story.
Good guess.
Buzz.
Toy
Not.
They're
Story
in Toy
beer in Toy
Story?
Story, Joe. Seriously?
PG-13.
I know, man, but even anime got to drink beer too.
That one's from the Drew Carey Show, and the idea behind that one was to mix coffee and beer, so
Which-
caffeinated beer.
Didn't Drew Carey brew his own beer?
Maybe.
Like
But Buzz Beer was from
Loco.
the Drew Carey Show.
Isn't that basically For Loco?
There's a lot of coffee beers, but yeah, that's a controversy. Anyway,
Controversy. I like controversy.
yeah.
Okay, the only one that I think will get this, and maybe Bree might, but no, I think it's Joe. I'm counting on Joe.
Oh, let's see.
Elsinore.
No idea.
Hamlet? What? Elsinore. It was
Elsinore
the place in Hamlet.
is from Strange Brew. And
Oh God.
they put a little rat in the beer and they sent it back, and it was Elsinore. What about Brockman? Anybody?
Wow.
Brockman? Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Okay, here's one, guys. Heisler beer.
See, I would have thought that was from Breaking Bad, but no, not really. That's
Right, like Heisenberg? No, Heisler. Interestingly enough, Heisler beer has come out in The Bionic Woman, Bones, Burn Notice, CSI, Desperate Housewives, Dollhouse, Happy Endings, Heroes, How I Met Your Mother, My Name's Earl, New Girl, Superbad.
Is it a real beer?
No, The Shield, Training Day, Weeds, Workaholics, to name a few. So
That's
it's like
crazy.
It's a very popular fictional beer.
Must be the
Heisel
same
beer.
writer.
Okay, Jekyll Island.
I'm totally lost.
That one is
I don't know any of
from. These are tough. I admit it.
Isle of Dr. Moreau. Who knows?
Close. That was another one that came out in a couple. Dexter, Lost, and The Rules of Attraction.
these. Huh.
Interesting little bit of trivia. Okay, what about this one, guys? Lowbrow.
Futurama.
Yes, good job.
Wow, good one.
Nice. Wow. So I think
That one was hilarious. That's why I love that one.
I think right now it's tied. I feel like between Malik and Johanna.
Wow.
Really?
Which- Moves us on. I'm really bad at keeping score, honestly. So, but yeah, let's say that. Because you got Samuel Jackson beer, right, Malik?
Yeah, I did get Samuel Jackson beer.
There you go. Okay.
I feel like Malik got so many more than me, but
No, those are the only two I've gotten so far.
Well, we still have more to go because now we're going to move on to the second part, which is actual real beer that has been in real movies. I think all of these are movies. Yes. So we're going to start off with an easy one. I know Bree will get this. I'm
Oh
pretty
God,
sure.
now that's pressure.
Blue Velvet.
And Blue Velvet. Was it in the movie Blue Velvet?
are
Yes.
we getting the beer in the movie?
Yeah,
Right,
I haven't
now we're
seen that
switching
movie in
it-
20
Oh, we're
years.
switching.
Okay.
We're switching around. So now I'm going to say the movie, and you say what beer is in the movie. Blue Velvet. Absolutely the easiest one I could find.
Wow.
Blue Velvet? Is the beer
Joe,
named Blue
no,
Velvet?
no, Joe. We
All right. Go, man. Go!
don't just keep saying the wrong thing over and over again.
Velvet Blue. Velvet Blue.
No idea. I haven't
Most-
seen that movie in 20 years.
One of the most famous beer product placements ever. Well, I guess Blue Velvet's not like a super famous movie, but it does have a big cult following. Pabst Blue Ribbon was mentioned specifically by Dennis Hopper in that film. And he talks about the joys of Pabst Blue Ribbon and how real men drink Pabst Blue Ribbon. And the other beer that was the foil of Pabst Blue Ribbon in that movie was Heineken. So those are the two beers mentioned, Heineken and Pabst Blue Ribbon. All right, here's another easy one, guys. Come on, buck up. Urban Cowboy.
Schaefer. Lowenbrow.
Urban Cowboy. Okay, it's got to be something related
Bud
to
Light.
cowboys. Right?
Bud.
It's got to be something related to cowboys. Is
Yeah.
that Urban Cowboy? Is that
That's a John Travolta.
John Travolta? Okay.
No, wait, Urban Cowboy?
Right,
What?
John Travolta movie where he
Jesus.
plays an oil guy that is also a Bronco. I think he rides
Oh.
electric bulls. That's what I remember.
Wow.
Maybe he rides real bulls, but what I remember him riding were electric bulls.
Okay,
I don't know if there's an electric bull circuit, but if there isn't, there should be.
So, and we're definitely sure Alamo beer is not real, right? Because that would go well with like a.
It's a good
Yeah.
guess. I mean, you're on the right track, Malik.
Okay.
This is one of those beers that is often served in lieu of Pabst Blue Ribbon on the Lower East Side or Williamsburg.
Where's it from? Do we know where it's from?
From
Can I-
Texas, son. Texas.
Lone Star?
Yes. Thank you, Bree.
All
Having
right.
in there.
See?
Lone Star is
There we go.
correct. All right. So this one
I
got
served that
some.
one up. I think I served that one up. I should get a half point for that one.
No, you don't. Okay, so then, nice try though. But okay, so this one got a bit of publicity and made a bit of a stir because James Bond was seen drinking it and
Oh, dude.
Heineken.
Heineken. I said it first.
Son of a Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I said it first. I said it. Don't.
Bree,
Stop hating, man. Stop hating. I said it first.
I think I heard Bree say it first. Guys would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna give it to Bree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
that's
definitely said
that's
something first, Joe, but it wasn't Heineken. It was just kind of like
I
a
said Heineken.
unintelligible.
The whole
blurb.
controversy when he did the movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
Anyway, no.
Absolutely right. But no, that goes to Bree, which I think ties it up. So, all right, now, what about E.T.? Famous scene. E.T. gets drunk.
Budweiser.
Oh, wasn't he drinking Coors?
Yes, Malik.
Coors.
Malik
Nice.
takes the lead with Coors.
Okay,
Yes.
I remember
Any of
E.T.
these.
Good
I remember
job.
E.T. I remember
Okay,
Yes.
this one is for Joe. This one's specifically for Joe. I mean, no, feel free to answer it, everybody, but I'm just, the only one I think is going to get this is Joe.
I doubt it.
Dr. No.
I remember the movie. You think I remember what the hell beer they were drinking?
Maybe.
God.
I have no idea.
Interestingly enough, it was Red Stripe.
Really?
I
Stripe.
totally did not know. Red Stripe. Isn't that interesting? I didn't even know Red Stripe had been around that long. Okay, and so now that takes us to the movie Flight.
Is the Denzel Washington movie?
Yes, the Denzel Washington vehicle.
I swore he was just drinking like hard alcohol.
Yeah,
He
and
was drinking a lot of
Coke.
hard alcohol, but he also drank a beer.
Oh shoot. Okay, I think I remember this too. It's a can of beer. He had 6-pack.
Oh, yeah.
Rolling Rock. I don't know.
Was it Bud?
Yes, Johanna. Johanna ties it up once again.
Random ass guess.
So yeah, that one also got a bit of controversy recently, or not recently, but because Budweiser actually asked that Flight pull the beer from the movie because of how I guess Flight was depicting it being used.
Yeah, he was an
improperly.
alcoholic pilot. I mean, I would kind of. I wouldn't want
Gotta
my,
drink something.
He
All right,
called-
here's a Joe. I'm like I've skewed this for you, and I'm
Yeah, skew it for me. I don't pay attention to
Yo.
beer in movies.
Joe, Ghostbusters.
I don't remember. I remember them drinking beer. I don't remember what beer they were drinking.
Anybody want to guess?
I don't even remember them drinking beer.
Budweiser.
Yes, Johanna, 2 ahead. All right, this is another one for you. This is another one for Joe. The Killer. The Killer, Joe. The Killer. One of your favorite movies ever. The Killer.
The Killer.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Hong Kong flick. You think I know what beer they I can't remember what beer they were drinking. Let's see. Coors Light. I have no idea.
Close. Anybody else want to take a
Coors.
guess?
Budweiser.
Yes! Johanna is
I knew it.
yes.
I knew the answer was going to be Budweiser. I just knew it. And I wasn't
All right.
going to say anything. I wanted
Joe,
Yeah, whatever.
No, this one is especially for you.
Especially for me to get wrong. Let's go.
Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises. He drank beer? Or someone drank beer in there?
It was in the movie.
Budweiser.
Yes, Joe. Good job. Good job. Do you realize that 1/5 of the movies that have reached #1 at the box office have had Bud in them?
They get a lot of money.
Yeah, 1/5. Okay, so that takes us to the Green Hornet, the new one, the movie, the Green Hornet. Joe, come on.
Budweiser.
No! Anybody else want to guess?
Coors.
No.
Corona.
Yes! Oh my God!
Wait a second, you get to guess twice?
You can guess the
It's
rules.
free-for-all.
No rules, Joe.
There are no
That's it
rules. It's a free for all.
I'm just going to start naming stuff.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, but she's doing it way better than you, Joe.
All right, let's go. Hey, wait till the next one.
All right. Star Trek Into the Darkness.
Coors, Budweiser, Rolling Rock, Heineken, what's the other one?
Sam Adams.
Beck's, Sam Adams,
Miller High Life.
Natty.
All right. You know
Brooklyn's
what?
Best.
One at a time. I have to say no first before you go on to your next one. You can't just say a bunch of
I thought you said
beers
there were no
all
rules.
the
There were
time.
no
No, you
rules.
said there were no rules.
But they're the rules that I make up while we're playing.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
All right. So your first guess was what? Coors?
I said like 20 things.
What was the first one?
Coors,
No.
Budweiser.
Yes. Star Trek Into the Darkness, Budweiser. All right, Joe. This one's for you.
All right. I'm glad
Back
I'm getting
to-
all these questions.
Back to the Future.
Oh my God. I know he drank a Budweiser.
Anybody else want
Budweiser.
to take a guess?
Coors. Light.
Bud Light. Bud Light.
Bud Light.
Yeah, I'll give that one to you. All right.
No, Bud.
Okay, what about Ted?
It's got to be something with Boston Sam Adams, maybe?
Nah, it's
Budweiser.
Coors.
Guys,
Heineken.
you guys gotta be careful. Joe's
Corona.
Joe's actually catching up now. But it was Bud Light, not Bud Light. But I'm gonna give it to Joe.
No, but
Yeah.
hold on a minute. Budweiser is the whole trademark. Bud Light is
all right,
under-
Johanna. All right.
Anheuser-Busch.
dismissing you.
Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Invest.
Anheuser-Busch.
Johanna
All right.
trying to win at all costs, I'm telling you.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
All right.
This
Okay,
is a different
so
side of Johanna. This is the side the cabbie saw. Go.
all right. So Sam, what's his name? I was gonna call him Sam Adams, but Sandler. What's his Adam Sandler?
Adam
He,
Sandler.
Yeah, he had a movie called That's My Boy,
Yes.
and that had a specific beer in it. And it had that beer.
Hooters beer. Because
Guys.
Dennis
Budweiser.
Yes!
Budweiser.
Malik is catching up.
Are you sure it's not Bud Light?
It's Budweiser. And
Righty.
it was shown over 1,000 times in that movie.
Wow.
I only saw the movie once.
Yeah.
Hey, are we gonna do like a taste great, less filling type thing here, or?
Yeah, so apparently Budweiser spent like almost $4 million to advertise in the movie That's My Boy, which I didn't know was a movie until I was researching this.
Horrible.
Money well spent.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was bad.
All right. So let me see where we are in our timer because I have been timing us very meticulously.
Meticulous.
And we're doing great on time. Okay, so that right there was the second round of our matchmaking, and I'm gonna give it to Johanna. Although Malik did really great in
butter.
making his comeback, and Joe did really great at just yelling out Budweiser.
Hey, man,
Um,
you gotta stick with what works.
once he saw that trend.
Yeah.
So great job there.
I'm cleaning up, you guys.
Okay, so we're going to talk best bars in NYC. I would love to hear what you guys suggest. I will start with Johanna because I feel like she's going to have some suggestions.
It's actually kind of interesting because I drink a lot now. When I do drink, I drink in like restaurants. For example, like I keep talking about this German spot, but I'm gonna keep talking about it. It's called the Heidelberg, and it's on 2nd Avenue between 85th and 86th. And it is just great. They have great German beers. They have a nice bar. And yes, you can get boots. But if we're talking about a bar, I used to be like, ugh, about this place. I used to work in the Lower East Side. But I actually do, unless you're going out to Queens, like to go to like the Bohemian Beer Hall, it really is one of the few places that's like spacious enough that you can drink outside without having your ass up somebody's elbow.
Ew.
Yeah, I know, it doesn't feel good.
I mean, unless you're into that sort of thing.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
It's called the Sixth Ward, and it's on Orchard Street. Between...
That's like a Houston bar then, right?
Yeah, it's between Houston and Rivington.
And what I meant Houston, like the city in Texas, because the Sixth Ward is a reference to. I think
it's also a reference to Lower Manhattan, I believe, used to be divided into wards, like
okay.
5 Points and gang members and all that stuff, back in like the 1800s.
Huh. Okay.
So in terms of, I mean, there's also a place called Lorelei down there that's really good. It's also another German hall. I don't know if you guys are seeing a trend here, but
there's a German
like
thing
the
going
Germans.
on. I like.
So, were you happy when the Germans won the World Cup, Johanna?
As my husband likes to point out, my husband is mostly German, but
Right.
I mean mostly Irish, but he's a quarter German, and his family actually established themselves in Yorkville, which was a huge German neighborhood. He told me that since I've had a little German inside me, I had to cheer for the Germans. And I
don't want to know what he meant by that. So we're going to move on.
We already know.
We're going to move on.
He meant my daughter. He meant my daughter. Hello. He meant the baby.
So, yeah, there's a newish bar I like called the Owl. It's in Park Slope, so I doubt any of you guys, but Bree, have you been there?
The Owl Farm?
Yeah, the Owl Farm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just went there, right? You were just there like this weekend.
That's one of my favorite places.
Yeah, I love that place. The bartenders are usually pretty cool, and somebody is like banging like a metal thing against the table. We've had like a lot of noise during this podcast for some reason.
That's not me.
I don't matter who it is. You don't have
me.
to say your name. Just need to stop. All right, so yeah, that's why do you like it, Bree?
Well, I know the owners. First off, second, they always have a really good selection. The bartenders are great. It's a nice atmosphere, and the Hunter S. Thompson reference doesn't hurt.
Oh, is that what it's from?
Mhm.
What's the
The Owl Farm.
Oh.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What about some other? Is there any other places? I've actually, I know you know a few. Maybe. How about this, Bree? How about one for each borough?
Oh God. Okay, so let's start with Staten Island because that's a tough one. Kilmeyer's. That is way on the southern end of Staten Island. It's a historical building. It's in an old, I think, a German settlement. The guy who owns the place, Ken Torado, is the sweetest man in history, and if you get a chance to talk to him, I highly recommend it. He's awesome. Nice selection, good neighborhood, and just a nice place to hang out.
Okay. And what do you want to do next? Got 4 more.
Manhattan.
Mhm.
Oh, Manhattan is a toss-up. And see, this is difficult because all these guys are friends of mine, so of course I'm gonna totally pimp their bars.
Right.
Jimmy's number 43. He's my good friend and previous podcast collaborator. Jimmy Carboni owns that place. Totally nice joint. Beer sausages that are freaking delicious. Nice atmosphere. And Blind Tiger Ale House. It's crazy on the weekends. Don't try going, but during the week when it's chill, go. Great bartenders, really good selection.
Where's that one? I know Jimmy's is over on the east side, lower
Yeah,
fourth,
that's 43 East 7th Street and
7th
2nd
Street.
Avenue.
Gotcha.
And Blind Tiger Ale House is over on Bleecker and why can't I think of it? It's not Jones, is it?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Bleecker Street, and what about the Bronx?
Well, I only been to one bar up in the Bronx, and that would be Bronx Ale House.
I've been there too.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah, see, that's where everybody seems to go now. I mean, if you're gonna go to a bar in the Bronx.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of the go-to Bronx place, especially since it's a beer place and they have a good beer selection. James Langstein, who runs that, nice guy. Talk to James, say hi. If you go to Queens, that's a little tougher because the competition in Queens is getting a lot stiffer.
Wow.
There used to be just really one place to go as far as I was concerned in Queens, but now there's several.
What was the one that you were...
Sunswick 3535.
Yes, so I actually biked from Sunswick 3535 to the Bronx Ale House.
Oh my god, yes.
And took a round trip through what is above the Bronx? It's
Yonkers.
Yonkers.
Took a little round trip through Yonkers to get there in the rain. It was awesome. Yes, they're very nice over there.
Yeah. But there's also Queen's Kickshot if you want beer and a really good grilled cheese sandwich, like artisanal grilled cheese sandwich. Delicious. And Brooklyn has a ton of good beer spots.
Could you pick a favorite?
Well, my current favorite is the Owl Farm, but then it's a block and a half away from my house, so
Yes.
of course it's my favorite.
Right. Definitely a plus, no doubt.
Definitely a plus. Proximity is a big deal at this
Mhm.
point. But I also like the same guys who own Mission Dolores, and that place is pretty cool.
Oh, Mission Dolores. Sure.
Yeah.
Over on 4th Ave, right?
On 4th Avenue. That's a great space.
And it's very kid-friendly there, too.
Yeah.
For people that have kids. Great, that sounds good. I was going to recommend a bar over in Bay Ridge, which is an old Irish bar, and I cannot remember the name of it. I'm an idiot. But, okay, so that moves us on to our next, Killarney Pub.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's an old
Yeah.
classic place. It's probably been around for like a million years as far as I know. And,
In Manhattan.
there's a Killarney over there too?
Yeah, well, Killarney Rose. It's on Pearl Street in Manhattan, so all the way downtown,
Okay.
Financial District.
So I'm guessing the Killarney is like an Irish something or other. But yeah, so the guys there are always great. It's always like a good, real Brooklyn crowd. Like everybody that goes in there seems like they were born and raised in Brooklyn. So it's a nice group of people. They're all very nice and sweet and old. A lot of them are old. Okay, so then, great. Now this takes us to the final chapter of today's show. Karaoke. What goes better with beer than singing? I don't know. Maybe pickles. But
Pickles.
Potatoes.
Potatoes. Beer and potatoes.
Mm.
And drinking and singing. So, guys, we're going to go around. If you had to go up on stage right now, what song would you sing? Since we don't have any volunteers, I'm going to go with the tried and true Joe Morales.
Oh, so after I've had a few beers or drinks or whatever, and you give me a mic karaoke,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to my go-to song, which is LL Cool J, "Mama Said Knock You Out."
Can you give us a little demonstration, Joe?
Should I start from the beginning? All right,
How
so Lorenzo, I just want you to go. You could just okay.
It does it a few times, right?
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, rocking my peers, putting suckers in fears, making the train down like a monsoon.
Monsoon.
Listen to the bass go boom, explosion, overpowering. Over the competition, I'm towering. Record shop when I drop these lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stare at my beer. You better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest at all. Get a slice and dice. Competition paying the price. I'm gonna knock you out.
Nice.
There you go.
That was good. That was good. Good job. I'm proud of you. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have the lovely Johanna.
So sometimes I tend to get contemplative and have beer tears.
Uh-oh.
And
I think we also was
Johanna was taking this there.
really?
She was taking this here.
So one of my standards during karaoke when I'm feeling that way is
Can you just demonstrate, Johanna, before you even tell us? Can you just dive right in and sing a little something for us?
Okay.
I think you're gonna need a tissue.
I go out walking after midnight, out in the moonlight, just hoping that maybe somewhere you're walking after midnight, waiting for me.
Oh.
Nice, Johanna. Great
that's
job.
Patsy Cline, right?
Very nice.
That was really good. Yeah, you sounded good. You know, I tried to do Patty, what's her last name?
That's Patsy Cline.
Patsy Cline.
Yeah, I tried to do
Patti
what's it
LaBelle?
called? No. Oh, you know what I tried to also do? Aretha Franklin's version of Say a Little Prayer for Me, and I learned that you don't do Aretha Franklin. I should have gone with Dionne Warwick. I should have gone with Dionne Warwick's version.
You should have gone with Diane King's version.
I'd never. Oh, right. I like that movie. Which was my best friend's.
My best friend's wedding. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. But yeah. So the one I did was Back in My Baby's Arms. I'm back in my baby. So and I didn't do as good as you did, Johanna. Good job. Malik, are you ready? Are you ready for this?
I've been ready, man. I'm
All right, you're up, buddy. You're up.
I'm ready. So usually, so I don't. This song, I don't usually know the lyrics to the actual verses. I just know the bridge and I know the chorus by heart.
Hit it.
So even if I have a couple of drinks, I can rock this out. So she says, "We gotta hold on to what we got.
Hell yeah!
Doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got
each other, and that's
love. We'll give it a shot.
Whoa, we're halfway there.
Oh, living on a prayer. Take my hand.
We'll make it, I swear. Whoa.
That is also my son's favorite song. You and my son have that in common because
Yeah,
it's his favorite karaoke song.
I don't generally
No,
karaoke.
really? Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't generally do it, but when I do, I make sure I can find that song. And
Awesome.
A couple of beers, and we're living on a prayer.
Great. Okay, so I'm debating right now. Bree, would you like to go next? I think you said a cappella
Yeah.
was the way you like to do it. You want to just jump in?
Okay.
All right, you're up.
All right. Sure. I don't know if I can pull this whole song out, so just a shorty.
Sure.
All right. I'm trying to remember. Okay. Remember, do you remember all that you said? Said that love was too plebeian, said that you were through with me, and now you say you love me. And just to prove you do, go on and cry me a river,
Mm.
cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
Nice, Bree.
Nice.
That of course is Justin Timberlake doing "Cry Me a River."
Oh, it goes further back than that.
I'm just kidding. Ella Fitzgerald.
I was gonna say that didn't sound like Justin.
I think Michael Bublé also did it as well. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, I think we'll go with the Ella Fitzgerald version. That sounded great. Good
Thank you.
job.
Is that, now, Bree, I have a question. Is that how it would sound after a few drinks?
It might sound better after a few
Really?
drinks.
Right. I know exactly what you mean, but that sounded really good, Bree.
Thanks.
And again, karaoke is a lot about the delivery, and so if you can match delivery with a great voice, then you're unstoppable. I think so far we had a competition. I think Bria and Johanna would be in the lead with with Joe and Malik in a close second. That is the most diplomatic I'm ever going to be ever. All right, y'all. Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this. 50-inch screen, money, green leather sofa. Got 2 rides, a limousine with the chauffeur. Phone bill about 2 G's flat. No need to worry, my accountant handles that. And my whole crew is lounging, celebrating every day. No more public housing. Thinking back on my one-room shack. Now my mom pimps an AC with mink on her back. She loves to show me off, of course. Smiles every time my face is up in the sores. We used to fuss when the landlord dissed us. No heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we're thirsty. Damn right I like the life I live, 'cause I went from negative to positive. And that's all. Alright, that was nothing.
I like the
If you don't know, now you know. Yeah. All right, guys. So that brings us to the end of our show. I'm sorry we ran a little bit over, but I just could not resist doing a little karaoke. So, Johanna, first of all, I want to say thank you to Bree for being on our show. As always, it was a pleasure to speak with you, and it was very informative. I know Malik appreciated it, and I think if Johanna doesn't, Malik's going to start homebrewing himself.
I absolutely do, and I actually have another question. I don't know if we have time for it, Lorenzo.
Go ahead, Malik.
So I've heard of this term before, a skunky beer. Like, what does that mean, and how does a beer get skunky?
Can you actually put marijuana in beer?
Well, you can put a lot of things in beer if you really need to. Yeah, well, you know that hops are a cousin to cannabis. They're in the same family.
Nice.
So it would make sense. But in terms of skunky, skunky is a characteristic of when beer essentially goes bad.
Okay.
And it's usually light damage. That's why, most brewers will put their beer in a brown bottle because it limits the light intrusion. Because the light will make, like sometimes you open a beer and you're like, fuck, what is that smell? It just smells like acrid and that's a skunk beer. So, like Corona, Heineken, anything in a clear bottle, it's more susceptible to being skunked.
Fascinating.
Very good. See, that's perfect. Thank you very much. Now I know what that means. Okay.
And on that note, Johanna, if you'd be so kind as to take us out with a quick little plug for our various social medias. If you can do it in 1 minute, I will be much appreciative.
So first things first, agentsofhelm.com is the nerve center for the podcast and for all of our projects. There's original content on there. I believe, and Lorenzo will correct me if I'm wrong, the latest thing on there is my review of the book Mad Adam by Margaret Atwood. It's a video review.
Yeah, well, we also have, I guess there's also the weekly update would be,
Yes.
I guess, technically before yours. And then at the top of our page, we have all of our podcasts going back, like 6 podcasts. And then you can also use our RSS feed to go down the list and go way back, should you be so inclined.
See, Lorenzo, you're way better at pumping the website than I am. But go check it out. You can find everything there. You can find our podcast there. You can find original content. And you can find some connections to our social media outlets. So we are Agents of Helm, no spaces, no periods, on Tumblr, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter. I feel like I'm missing one, but it's okay. You can tweet us at Agents of Helm. You can tweet me at Inky Octopus. You can tweet Lorenzo at Renzo, 3s instead of E's and 0s instead of O's. And Malik, where can the people reach you?
I am at Mr. Nick 147. Mr. Nick.
Mr. Nick.
Joe?
And Joe at Jam9270.
Okay, and Bree, would you like to share your Twitter information with our audience?
I'm at Eileen's Wisdom.
Eileen's Wisdom.
Yeah.
All right.
Fascinating. I did not know that. I
Yeah.
shall follow you, Bree.
Oh, I haven't tweeted in a long time, but
How does one spell that? It's just Eileen, like Eileen, like, you know,
Yes.
it's not like any kind of weird spelling.
nope.
Okay.
Regular old Eileen spelling.
And you also have your blog, and Bree is a fantastic writer. She likes, she has some incredible insights about her life as a parent and New Yorker. Do you want to give people that that blog address again?
Sure. That's bornbree.wordpress.
Great. Sounds good. Okay, that's all the time we have, plus a little bit extra. So I'm going to say good night for everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the show. I know that I did, and I learned a lot. And so happy that you guys could be with us. Thanks a lot, and see you guys next time. Or listen, here.
Peace out. I'm going to go get drunk.
Yeah.
Time to drink some beer.
Thanks so
Yep.
much.
Later.
Great. That was great, guys.